Welcome to Big Business Saturdays.
Hey Fola fam, I'm Dreyoncé and welcome back to another episode of Big Business Saturdays. I'm so excited to introduce our guest today. Give it up for Jessenia.
Hi, I'm Jessenia and you're watching Big Business Saturdays with Fola.
Hey, welcome to Big Business Saturdays.
Thank you for having me. Happy Saturday.
Happy Saturday. Thank you for coming. And I'm so excited. We're going to get into a couple things today.
Let's do it.
I'm going to have a great conversation. But first, I wouldn't mind starting off with a little game. Are you ready?
Let's do it. Let's play some games.
So this game's called, as you can see, you have this gold blocks here. It's called Pick a Brick.
Okay.
And on the other side of the brick is a question and that you're going to answer.
And I can pick any brick.
Any brick. Hopefully we won't play Jenga too much.
Let's see. I'm going to move things around.
All right.
I feel like this one is calling my name.
Okay, let me see. I'll read it out to you. Okay. If you had the power to change our currency type, what would you change it
to? Damn. If I could change our currency type, what would I change? Honestly, for me, whatever we change it to, it still has a value of currency, right?
Correct. Mm-hmm.
I think what we need to do is change our mindset on it, because what we put power into is what power we get. Now, sometimes people live a mindset of scarcity. So they're afraid to move their currency.
Right.
But they also don't get currency.
Mm-hmm.
In order to get, you got to give. So it's all a mindset for me. Whether it's a dollar bill, whether it's a coin, whether it's something that lives in imaginary space like crypto, it's how you move it. And it needs to be moved, because anything stagnant, we all know, just collects, evaporates, or just, gets funky. So it's all about energy. And for me, it's crazy because I like to look at wealth as I'm spiritual, as well as I'm a romantic, but as well as a business boss. So I like to comprise all that to make it make sense for me.
How is it balancing all those different identities? Is it effortless for you, or is it just something that you've had to kind of learn to balance out?
Everything that I have learned, whether it's through failed relationships, because they're not really technically failures, there's lessons that to be gained.
Right.
You get to use that to understand that relationships aren't just romantic, it's also with self and others. And how you can navigate through that and not repeat the same mistakes. Because people always sometimes, they do the same things with different people. It doesn't mean it's different. It just means it's the same thing. So how do I pick up on patterns? How do I learn from this to not make the same mistake? And it's insane, because as a hopeless romantic, I was brought, I'm 38, feeling great, but, I'm also first generation. My parents are traditional, they're Ecuadorian, and their whole thing was like, you gotta be married with kids by a certain age. And for me, that looked like 23, 24, 25. And I have never been married, I don't have kids, but what I realized is that with that information that I got, and I sensed that it wasn't working, I applied it to myself, and the moment you put love and energy into you, the more everything else starts to evolve. To be where I'm at now versus where I was as a kid that was being bullied and teased for being overweight with glasses and braces, I would have never thought that I'd be here. When you're talking about someone that was constantly being brought down, who didn't believe they deserved things. And now I realize that the financial literacy is so important for us. And as I'm learning, I like to share. And as I talk to people, I learn. And that's important, not being a gatekeeper. So yes, honey, I've learned from all of my failures, but that's the best way to learn.
Right.
You're not going to succeed. It ain't always success. You got to sometimes fall on your face a couple of times. To get up, to rise up.
And those are the moments that really, I feel, mold the success and make you actually appreciate those things that when you finally get them.
Right.
And you touched upon a couple of things that I wanted to get into. You said you were Ecuadorian, also have Ecuadorian and have Ecuadorian.
Yes.
So I'm familiar.
What's the other half?
Dominican.
That's
a little Latino,
yes.
So, how was your relationship with entrepreneurship growing up? Was that something that was kind of like taught to you, or was it something that you kind of learned along the way?
So it's very funny, because back home, my mother was considered from a wealthy family. My father was considered from a poor family. My mother was raised by a very strong woman, my grandmother, who ran businesses with my grandfather. So she was around a lot of that. So my mom had a really strong business appreciation and education just from being present. My dad had great ideas. Together they were able to leave Ecuador and come here. However, if you're a big astrologer, my dad being the Aquarius, my mom being the Pisces, she had a lot of beautiful creative things, but my dad was just kind of okay with where he was. I learned from my parents' mistakes. When you have something, don't be afraid. You can't go into anything afraid, and you can't get comfortable. That's the same thing with a relationship. Romantically, you can't get comfortable in a relationship. You both have to push each other to grow. You both have to learn as individuals and bring something for conversation. You can't be afraid either to take a risk of saying, you know what, this is what I want to do and this is what I have to do. Everyone talks about being busy, but I'm sure you saw your mother and the women in your life, shout out to the Latina, shout out to the women of color, who really know how to wear all these hats and still be a mother to their children, still be a wife to their husbands. And so whenever someone says they're too busy, it's no, I hear it as I'm not that important to you, and that's fine, that's your prerogative, or you don't care, and that's fine, and that's your prerogative too. But I'm not going to expect anything. I always say no one's going to work harder for you than you, for you. But learning how to trust and who to let in and knowing when to let go and to walk away is key. And that's the same with business and romantic relationships.
I love how you made that correlation between the two. And I noticed that a lot of your entrepreneurship ventures, they have a surrounding theme of self-love, including the You Love You brand, as well as 30 Days to Self-Love, as well as I saw you worked on another project where you starred and directed in the film. Tell me a little bit about that and where that comes from, and was self-love something that you feel like you were taught and growing up in your roots, or was that something that you kind of had to learn along the way? And we all take a learning curve.
I had to learn along the way because I remember, and as being Latina, mental health is not a conversation to be had because for them it was like, you're not crazy, but it's not being crazy. Emotions that are valid and real. You know, for me, I struggled with loving myself because how could I? I was always being teased by, I went to a predominantly white, private Catholic elementary school. But then I went to a predominantly African-American, all-girls school, high school. So it was like, how do I find my identity and how do I fit in, right? And that takes us a long time, right? For me, because I started so different in a community where I also felt like they didn't like me because I wasn't white, I already struggled with so much. And my mom's like, you're overthinking it, it's not that serious. Okay, you know, I'm like, I want to talk to someone about I'm having feelings, like I'm not happy in my skin, you know, and not feeling beautiful because growing up in that time, beauty was like Kate Moss. Right. And she was a really frail, skinny white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair. So when I saw women like Selena, that looked like me, the dark, and indigenous too, because there is Latinos in the world, but there aren't enough indigenous Latinos in the world that are in our industry. So when I saw Selena, I was like, oh my gosh. And she inspired me. And with that, I aspire to inspire. That's what I want to do with my voice, with my platform, with my life. You know, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and the reason why I suffered through something like that was because I didn't love myself enough to walk away. I didn't love myself enough to keep myself safe, and I just wanted to be loved and I just wanted to be loved. And I remember when I did get out of that relationship, the first thing my mother said in tears was, "Mija, te tienes que querer." And that was the first time she said, "My daughter, you gotta love yourself." But it's so easy to say I love myself. It's doing the work. We all hear about self-love, and people are like, I love myself, I look good, I love myself. But it's not about the physical, it's about the inside. And for me, my road to self-love became when the world shut down in 2020 and I was forced to sit in myself. I went through a breakup that I didn't see happening, especially during that time, and I had no room to get distracted. No room to get into a project, no room to run to friends, no room to even go to a club if I wanted to, which I'm not really a club goer, but you know, we were all stuck at home. So what did I do? The greatest act of self-love was go through therapy. The greatest act of self-love was teetering into the mental health. And actually, you know what? I'm not crazy, but I need to talk to a professional. And I finally need to face these demons. So my road to self-love has been a long journey, even with my health and wellness. You know, people look at me and it's like, oh, how do you look so good at 38? It's when you learn to love yourself. Like, it's crazy. When I used to go to the gym and train because I was in bodybuilding competitions, yes, I looked great, but I didn't feel great. I was tired, I was hangry, I was deprived. And here, I've learned to just treat my body with kindness. And I'm not at the gym Monday to Saturday like I was when I was competing. I'm not weighing and scaling my food. You know, I'm enjoying, I'm being present, I'm taking it in. And when you learn that, I call it the trifecta effect, the mind, body, and soul. And it's work, honey. It's not a one-time shot. People think, oh, okay, I'm going to find happiness. You got to fight for that. You got to protect that. Your peace and your joy, you got to, and every day you got to work for it. And now I'm in a relationship. And it's always easy to find all that and be good as an individual. But when now you're in a partnership, and the same thing as it is with business. You can have a successful business as an entrepreneur, but then when you have a partner, you got to be also put that work, and they got to put that work, and you got to communicate, and you got to appreciate, and you got to be able to equally hold weight in where, like, my strengths, maybe your weaknesses, and your weaknesses, my strengths, and know how to compromise. Because that's the only way you're going to succeed. When you got two people thinking the same way, even romantically, it's going to get boring. There's got to be some challenge. So I need somebody that's going to be in my life that can offer things that I might not be able to, you know, that I might not know, or that I might not be fully skilled in, and that can help me, you know, add to me. My responsibility and your responsibility is to be a better person. And business is the same way. Your responsibility is to know your field of operations and my field of operation. And if we don't know, we get an expert. Same thing. So my 30 days to self-love, it's the beginning. For me, anything that becomes habitual becomes life-changing and adaptable, and that's what I think. When people can get through the 30 days, they realize that they created a positive, healthy habit. And with that, there's no self-sabotaging. With that, there's no, I can't do it. Yeah, you can. You just did it for 30 days. Imagine for the rest of your life.
Right. I feel like the 30 days sounds like it's also like, as well as the physical, it's a mindset change.
It is.
And I feel like that's also, I think that's more important and also not as appreciated as physical aspects in our life and self-love. And that's where it all begins, in my opinion.
Absolutely. You're right. You're right. And the You Love You movement, it's a community. It's a movement, you know. It's you wear that, and that's a reminder to you love you. For you to love you. And that's all it is to celebrate that and to be proud of the journey, because the journey don't look like this.
Right.
Literally. But it's a beautiful journey for us.
What would you tell someone who hears love yourself, but not really understanding what that means? Where do you begin when that's something that's so foreign to you and to your own knowledge?
Yes. So my whole thing is like, you have to look within the self and be like, all right, we all sometimes have an opinion about other people, but we're projecting something. When we kind of sit on ourselves and be like, well, why am I low-key hating?
You gotta ask yourself questions sometimes. Like,
yes.
You gotta check yourself.
You gotta check yourself.
Yeah.
And be like, all right, well, how do I change that? Or how do I educate myself? You really, when it comes to self-love, it's really taking accountability of your shortcomings. It's not about just embracing your flaws and all and loving it. It's about, okay, how can I improve? Okay, I'm not happy with being 30 pounds overweight. Are you going to continue to add more weight, or are you going to maintain or change? You know what? I'm not happy with my partner. He's never around. Are you going to communicate and say, hey, these are my boundaries. This is what I want. This is what I don't want. Or are you going to stay quiet and then resent? Or are you going to leave?
And that's where the self-love
right,
kicks in.
And that's the self-love. Self-love. You just really got to have a conversation with you. Here's the thing. People talk about money and how important money is. But time has a greater value than money. There's something you can't get twice in life, and that's time. So knowing how to navigate and direct your time is important. Making time for self, making time for work, making time for others. That's how you'll find a key to success and balance. You can't have all the time in the world, but we all have the same amount of time in the world. Each day has 24 hours, and I know some people that are wearing a ton of hats and they're never, ever busy. So don't make time an excuse to give people your short end of the stick when they can give you their better self to self. So time is of the essence. Time is so important. With knowing how to manage your time, you'll be able to also grow.
And I love how you said, like, why am I hating? Because there's always a reason that sometimes, as much as we don't want to admit it, we may be projecting feelings of envy,
jealousy, and those are normal. Don't feel ashamed. No one's making. I'm not trying to make you feel bad, but if you want to know the truth, it lies in you. Take a look in the mirror.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And there's always a solution to it.
Right.
If you're not doing something, start it.
Absolutely.
Start doing it.
Absolutely.
And so tell me more about the 30 Days to Fitness. How did you come up with the concept? Where did this idea really originate?
Yes.
And how's it been for you so far?
Oh man, so for me, like I said, my life journey, I was scared skinny at 16 when my doctor told me, hey, if you keep this lifestyle, you're probably going to not live that long and you're going to live uncomfortably because you're borderline getting close to obesity. At that time, we didn't have Google. At that time, we only had encyclopedias. We also didn't have groups or anything. So here I am, where all my friends are pretty skinny because they're not eating the way my mom and dad fed me. They fed me the way they fed my brothers, who are 12 and 11 years older than me, and athletes. So I'm eating all this rice with potatoes and you gotta eat everything. You can't leave a grain. So for me, it was like, all right, if I don't eat, then I get skinny. And that led me to a couple of different hiccups. I became anorexic, then I became bulimic, and then I became so obsessed with exercise that I was one of those people that was like looking like this, but wasn't feeling good, and there was nothing healthy inside. So for me, what I learned after my breakup, and again, I credit a lot of 2020. 2020 was like, it either opened up your mind and you did something about it, or, you know, it skipped through, but you're in the process of doing it now. It's never too late. And that's the beautiful thing. It's never too late. So for me, when I took it upon myself to navigate in all this research and this work and this therapy and this accountability, I realized that my body felt like the best it had ever felt. It looked the best it had ever looked. And it was all by loving myself and taking care of my mental health. And I said, man, if more people knew this, because how many times do we do a diet and we sabotage it? How many times do we go hard and we're just bloated? We are bloated. Sometimes people are going to the gym way too much that they need to because they think they have to. But now they're spending so much time in the gym when they could be spending time building relationships, whether it's family, friends, or business. They're now doing all this wear and tear of their body that they don't really need. So now they're creating issues of health. And now they're becoming so overworked on their body that the reason why they're not seeing these results is because they're getting puffy and inflamed. And that's your body saying, hey, slow down, I need to recover. When I realized all the stuff that I was doing, especially having been on the opposite side as bodybuilding, I realized, like, wow, here I was, like I said, weighing my food, timing my thing, doing all...
No, that don't sound like self-love to me.
That's not love.
That's not love for yourself. That's love for whatever.
For whatever goal.
You're putting before yourself.
Right. And your body will never lie. So I realized with me, I was like, wow, I look the best because I'm happy. I found peace and joy, and I found balance. I will eat, and anybody that knows me knows that I'm a foodie. Okay. I'm not there saying, I can't eat, no, give me a salad. I'm like, because when you feed yourself with kindness, it's going to express back to you. When you're kind to anything or anyone, especially you, you're going to see the kindness reciprocate.
Gotcha. Thank you for that. And I also want to talk to you about the sense of urgency and the belief in, I personally believe in just divine timing. And I know you mentioned just letting go. Tell me about kind of like your relationship with timing. And I know so many young people, and especially in this generation, we have social media and we see so many ideas of what success should look like at what age. And I think the beauty that I personally discovered lately is letting go and letting things fall into place, because what's meant for you will be meant for you. But I want you to talk about snap. I want you to talk a little bit more about your relationship and your journey with that and your realizations.
Yes. So one thing with me, it's so funny because everything kind of stumbled. I was going to school for nursing because that's what my parents wanted.
What happened to you?
Guess my sign. I'm a Virgo.
Wow.
So yeah, and currently I'm in real estate.
Beyonce energy. Okay.
So yeah, and I love her. That's another woman that I was like.
We're gonna have another conversation. We can have another conversation.
No, for me, here's the thing. I always tell people my age, because we also are coming through and pulling through and making strides, that age don't matter. It don't matter how old you are or how young you are. It's just who you are, what you are. And I'm in an industry where, you know, I'm doing spokesman stuff, right? For other companies, for brands. I'm modeling. I'm creating content that's still somehow, like, I went viral on TikTok multiple times, and that's a young demographic. But best be known, I'm not the 12, 16, 18, 20-year-old consumer on that app. When I started my career, it was like a, don't tell people your age.
Okay.
Oh, you want to get married? Well, no, you got to choose either or. You can't have both, because people are not going to want you. Oh, kids, you better wait for that, because you got all the time in the world. And it's so sad, because Jennifer Aniston said this. Had she known, they thought that her breakup with Brad Pitt was because she didn't want kids. She wanted kids. But they told her to wait, because they thought that she had time, because she was still young. Best behold, we're not all created the same.
Right.
Her eggs weren't good at the time that she tried. And they tried and they tried. And she wishes that there was more conversations about freezing eggs. And mind you, her interview came out right after I just froze my eggs for the first time. And here I am using my voice, using my platform to educate women that, hey, go get tested. You might be better getting your eggs frozen at 22, 23, because we're not the same. And then there are some 20-something-year-olds that have 40-year-old eggs, so it's all educational. But it was like, hey, let's have this conversation. And when she said that, I just felt like I was in alignment with my purpose. See, I'm a survivor of domestic violence, and I almost died that night. And for a long time, I lived with survivor's guilt. I didn't know why I didn't die. But somewhere down the road, I realized that once I was able to use my voice, not just to talk about domestic violence, but all the things that I've been through, you know, the bullying, the abuse, the lack of self-love, that I've been touching lives of others. So funny enough, when I worked at the hospital, I worked with people one-to-one and helped them that were in crisis. And everybody that I worked with was like, what are you doing here? You could do so much. But I didn't believe in myself and in my greatness. But that wasn't my timing, right? There was a divine timing that happened. And for me, that was 2020. And it's just the beginning for me.
Planted the seed.
At 35 years old, the last 3 years have been so beautiful and so much growth. And for me, it's like, I see my purpose. I'm learning the financial literacy that I didn't know then. But I'm like, wow, when I'm reading things, I'm like, this is so much to like having a relationship with self, having a relationship romantically with another person. And I'm like, and I feel like I've really tackled those things so well that I'm like very confident when I have conversations with business people. They're like, have you been in business? I'm like, they think that, but that's because you got to be able to correlate. And this goes for the men. There's men out there that are so caught up in like money, and business. And if you can have a successful business, there's no excuse for you to not be able to have a successful relationship. Whether that be another man on your side or a woman on your side, whatever your sexual preference is, love is love, you know? There's no excuses. And now people make fun of women, that women are becoming the men they want, because a lot of the men don't have time to be anything else but for themselves. And that's not how a business partnership works either. Otherwise, you could by yourself, but you're doing business with others. You're making time for them. You're building. Same thing with romance. So yeah, honey, you could be 58 feeling great and start a business and succeed. The timing is there's never a wrong time or a right time. It's your time.
That's right. Oh my God, I feel motivated. And tell me, if I feel motivated right now, I'm sure, how rewarding is it for you to come from that dark place from where you were dealing with domestic violence and then coming and sharing your stories, whether that be through your fitness program, whether that be through that your movie. How rewarding is it for you to witness people and and listen to their stories and help them come out of it? And what does that do for, you know, a younger version of yourself?
Oh man. The younger version of myself is so proud of me, because I just never thought that I'd even use my voice, because so many times, every time I try to talk about my feelings or my thoughts or emotions, it's like, no, it's not that serious, brush it off, you're stronger than that, you're better than that. And I'm here to say that it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to use your voice. it's okay to think of self. Because when you do that and it comes from a place of love and kindness, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, will also bless you with abundance. And for me, abundance doesn't come in money. Yes, I'm happy I get money and I get to make money, because without it, I can't take care of my mom, my dad, me, or my dog. But it's not the only thing that defines my happiness. No. For me, knowing that I can help a little girl or men, because I've had a lot of men say, hey, you helped me get out of an abusive, toxic relationship. Women, hey, you know what? You just allowed me to realize that I need to go get therapy because of what I went through. Because women are taught to be strong too. And it's like, it's okay to be vulnerable. And so it takes me back to what I missed so much working in the field of the hospital. I missed that feeling that's so giving to others and seeing the reward being paid off in person. Like, wow, like I helped that person that was in crisis. I got to see it. I got to be a part of it. And I missed that. And now I get to do it on a larger scale. Before it was such a small scale. Now I do it on a universal scale. And it just feels so fulfilling. And I feel like I'm moving in the direction, the purpose of what God put me on this earth for. And it's still a road of discovery.
Right.
And I'm happy to see where else it leads me. This movie that I made, it's called Spoken, and I'm so excited to give opportunities to people of color, and women that are also would have been told, no, you're too old for this, and or people, hey, I don't agree with that, or it's such a beautiful space to be able to create art that can heal you and heal others, but also this is always gonna live after I'm gone, and knowing that it's gonna continue to register and hit people in a better way, just. There's no other feeling than that. I mean, I make music and it's the same thing. It's the vibration and energy that I'm putting into the world. And for me, that's my legacy. I'm not no Beyonce, but girl, you're one of the reasons that I also find this compass of expression with healing and growth and touching others.
I love that. And that's something to be so grateful for, that you are a true testament of living in your purpose and having art that goes, beyond you, like you said, and still influencing others. And let the people know where they can find you and how they can take advantage of all the great things that you got going on, where they can find the movie, where they can join, where they can buy the clothing, where they can join the program. Let them know.
Yeah, if you want to be part of the movement, it's a movement, it's a community. Proceeds go into mental health for the youth, because I think that's so vital, not having that. All my information of what I do is on my IG bio, where you can go to my website, iamjessenia.net, someone took the .com, but that's another thing. I am Jessenia on all other platforms, and I'm so happy to be here, and I think what you guys are doing is so amazing.
Thank you.
And the biggest key I want to let people know, okay, it's knowing what you want, setting goals, and working at it. People are like, oh, it sounds exhausting. Wait, if you think working for someone is exhausting, it's going to get more exhausting when you work for yourself. Right. But the end goal, you got to see what it is. And if it matches your values, then I'd say go for it.
Gotcha. And before I let you go, Jessenia, we do have, Fola does stand for something, and each letter does stand for a significant part of what we represent. So we have the F in Fola standing for financial freedom, O for opulence, L for legacy, and A for abundance. If you had to choose one that really resonates with just that, your overall essence, your overall story, which one do you would you decide with?
I feel like I said the word a few times throughout this. Abundance.
Abundance.
Yes, it hits.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And my name is Dreyoncé, and you've watched another episode of Big Business Saturdays. Hey, Fola fam, take care.
Money, and I can see it coming, cause I'm rocking with Fola, cause I handle my finances right. I'm rocking